Have you ever wondered why, after World War II, so many German officers and their allies fled halfway across the world to Argentina? What was it about this South American country that made it a safe haven for those escaping Europe's wrath? Today, we'll explore how Argentina became the preferred refuge for these fugitives and the reasons behind this fascinating chapter in history. When the dust settled after World War II, thousands of German officers, collaborators, and supporters of the Nazi regime were left scrambling for a place to hide. Many feared trial and punishment for their war crimes, knowing that Europe was no longer a safe haven. The Nuremberg trials were already beginning to hold Nazi officials accountable, and these men were desperate to evade justice. But why Argentina? What made it the perfect destination? Well, let's dig into the reasons behind this choice. The European escape. By 1945, Europe was a dangerous place for Nazi collaborators. Allied forces occupied Germany, and many European countries were eager to prosecute those who had supported the Nazi regime. But even with the regime gone, there were still pockets of sympathizers scattered across the continent. Countries like Spain, under the rule of Francisco Franco, were sympathetic towards those who shared similar ideologies, even though they had remained officially neutral during the war. Some fugitives managed to hide temporarily in Spain and Switzerland, where officials turned a blind eye to their presence. But staying in Europe meant living with constant fear of capture. The Soviet Union in the East was particularly aggressive in hunting down war criminals. The Western Allies weren't much more forgiving, and the Nazis knew that the safest option was to flee far beyond Europe's borders. Argentina's open arms. Enter Argentina. After World War II, Argentina's president, Juan Domingo Perón, made it clear that his country would welcome these fleeing officers. But why would he do that? The reasons were complex. Perón had a unique admiration for certain aspects of Germany's wartime ideology. Before he became president, he served as a military attaché in Italy, where he grew close to fascist ideals. When he came into power, he believed that bringing in skilled military officers and scientists from Germany could help Argentina grow in strength and influence. He saw their military expertise as a valuable resource for his own ambitions, including modernizing Argentina's armed forces. But there was also a broader political calculation. Perón and his advisors believed that a new conflict might be on the horizon, this time between the United States and the Soviet Union. They thought that Argentina, by harboring anti-communist German officers, could position itself as a strategic ally in this Cold War. Cultural connections. Argentina wasn't just politically convenient, there were cultural ties too. Argentina had a long history of immigration from European countries, including Germany and Italy. This made it easier for German officers to blend in once they arrived. With established communities, a shared cultural background, and even common languages, they found it much simpler to start a new life. During the war, Argentina was officially neutral, but leaned towards the Axis powers because of these cultural ties. Many German-speaking Argentines were sympathetic to the Nazi cause. These sympathies helped create networks that would later become vital for helping fleeing officers arrive safely in South America. The rat lines, secret escape routes. Now, how did they actually get there? The answer lies in a network of escape routes called the rat lines. These routes, often organized with the help of sympathetic Catholic clergy and officials in countries like Italy and Spain, smuggled Nazi fugitives out of Europe. The routes moved through ports like Genoa in Italy or from Spain to ships bound for Argentina and other parts of South America. Perón's diplomats and intelligence agents in Europe were instrumental in facilitating these passages. They provided false documents and travel papers, ensuring that these men could reach Argentina without raising suspicion. Once they arrived in Buenos Aires, many of them were able to assume new identities and settle into life as ordinary Argentine citizens. Fatigue economic incentives. But Argentina's motivations weren't just ideological or political. There were economic incentives as well. Many wealthy Germans and Argentine businessmen of German descent were willing to pay for the safe passage of these fugitives. This influx of money was appealing to a country that was trying to rebuild its economy after the global impact of World War II. For Perón, it wasn't just about harboring fugitives. It was also a way to attract German scientists and engineers who could contribute to Argentina's technological advancements. This was similar to what the United States and the Soviet Union did, recruiting German scientists to advance their military and space programs. Why not anywhere else? So, why didn't these fugitives head to other parts of the world? In 1945, there weren't many options. Europe was locked down, and Asia was still dealing with its own post-war turmoil. Africa was largely under colonial control, and North America, with its tight alliances with the Allies, was far too risky. But South America offered the space and anonymity they needed. And among South American countries, Argentina was by far the most welcoming. Even after arriving in Argentina, many of these men didn't feel fully secure. In the years following World War II, they watched as international pressure to track down war criminals grew. Some of them moved on to other South American countries like Brazil, Chile, and Paraguay, hoping to keep a low profile. The turning tide, but time changed things. By 1955, Perón's government had fallen, and the new Argentine administration was far less friendly to these former Nazis. Many feared that they could be extradited back to Europe or face new pressures. Some chose to go into hiding again, while others blended into Argentina's German communities, hoping to live out the rest of their lives quietly. The Cold War dragged on, but Argentina's importance in it never reached the heights Perón had imagined. By the 1990s, the stories of these old men began to resurface. Some were finally tracked down and faced trials for their past crimes, but many others lived out their days under the radar, their pasts buried with them. Conclusion. So, why did so many German officers flee to Argentina after World War II? World War II. It was a mix of political ambition, cultural connections, and economic interests. Argentina, under Perón, saw an opportunity to strengthen its military and political position by offering a haven to these fugitives. For the fleeing officers, it represented a distant land where they could escape the shadow of their pasts and start anew. This chapter of history serves as a reminder of the complexities of the post-war world, where the search for refuge and new alliances shaped the destinies of many. What began as a journey of escape eventually turned into a hidden legacy that in many ways remains part of Argentina's story. Thanks for joining us in exploring this intriguing story. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Until next time, stay curious.